right?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Eyrig, the manager of the Minnesota State Debate Tournament. On behalf of the Minnesota State High School League, I would like to congratulate and welcome all of the students and the coaches who have qualified for this year's state tournament. I would also like to welcome all judges who have been hired for the tournament for the next 2 days. Welcome to our opening assembly to the State Debate Tournament. This is our opportunity to review the background and the basic operating procedures for the tournament. Hopefully, this will result in a productive tournament for 2 days on Friday and Saturday. French writer Joseph Joubert made the following statement about the importance of debate to us. He said, "It is better to debate a question without settling it than to settle a question without debating it." These words underlie the philosophy and the commitment of the Minnesota State High School League to competitive debate in Minnesota schools. We are fortunate to have this excellent support from the High School League. The State Debate Tournament is the oldest Minnesota State High School tournament, now in its 123rd year, and it ranks among the oldest high school or college debate tournaments in the United States. For many of you, this will be your very first state tournament. For others of you, this may in fact represent a homecoming and familiar turf since you have been here previously for 1 or more years as a student, coach, or judge. The state tournament started back in May 1902 here at the University of Minnesota. The policy debate team from the small rural southern Minnesota community of Le Sueur defeated another small town team from Glenwood on May 9th on a 2-1 decision. Le Sueur became Minnesota's first state debate champion. During the early years after that first state tournament, state debate championships were primarily won by schools in greater Minnesota. Schools such as Mankato, New Ulm, Cannon Falls, and Montevideo in the south, and up north, Crookston, Cloquet, Duluth, and East Grand Forks. They all prevailed as state champions. In those early years, debate was a very different activity from today. Fewer students were on the school teams. The season was much shorter, with 3 to 5 tournaments, with competition held in the spring rather than in the fall and winter. Teams would actually travel by train to debate another town in a packed school auditorium. Cheering, in fact, was encouraged from the audience, and it clearly became a community event with fans from both communities in attendance. Policy debate was the singular debate event at the state tournament for 84 years. 56 different schools have won 1 or more policy state championships up to last year. South St. Paul High School claims the current record in policy debate with 11 championships. They are followed by Hopkins, Mankato, and the Blake School, who are tied for second place with 7 championships apiece. The 2023 policy state champion was Edina, which won its 6th tournament. In 1986, Lincoln Douglas debate made its debut in Minnesota. This was an effort by the State High School League and the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association to expand the nature and focus of debate and to expand the number of participating schools. Apple Valley currently leads Lincoln Douglas history with 6 state championships, followed by Edina in second place with 5 championships, including last year's victory. In 2002, the league officially sanctioned the Classic Debate State Tournament that is held during the first weekend of December. Eastview currently leads the all-time state championship total in Classic Debate with 14 victories, followed by Mounds Park Academy. Public Forum Debate crowned its first state champion in 2013. St. Paul Academy and Summit School and the Blake School are tied for the current record with 4 state public forum championships, including last year's victory by the Blake School. Congressional debate joined the state tournament in 2018. Robbinsdale Cooper currently leads this debate division with 2 consecutive state championships highlighted by last year's victory. Over the years, Minnesota students have used their critical thinking and speaking skills to engage in debates on major national and international topics. These topics started with a debate on the abolition of capital punishment in the 1902 tournament. Over the years, Minnesota debaters will have researched and argued over 175 policy, Lincoln Douglas, and public forum topics, with additional topics included in bills submitted in congressional debate. This year, we will be debating the following resolutions. In Lincoln Douglas debate, resolved that the United States ought to substantially reduce its military presence in the West Asia, North Africa region. In public forum debate, resolved that the United States federal government should repeal Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And in policy debate, resolved, this is a long one, the United States federal government should substantially increase fiscal redistribution in the United States by adopting a federal jobs guarantee, expanding Social Security, and/or providing a basic income. On Saturday afternoon and evening, we will celebrate 4 new Minnesota State debate champions. On behalf of the Minnesota State High School League, I wish all of you great debating in your quest for one of those championships. The Minnesota State High School League and the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association are committed to providing you with another positive debate experience during the state tournament on Friday and Saturday. Student competitors, there will be 144 students from Minnesota High School that will compete for championships in congressional debate, in Lincoln Douglas debate, policy debate, and public forum. On behalf of the league, I would like to acknowledge the time, the expertise, and the dedication of each coach who have contributed to the student success in debate this year. And I would like to thank every judge who has given up their weekends to listen to and critique student performances to improve thinking and speaking skills. Our tournament staff. I am the state tournament manager and have been in this position since 2006. Working with me are the following individuals in tournament headquarters. First of all, from the Minnesota State High School League, one of their staff members and the official tournament director is Amy Doherty. Assisting me as the assistant manager is Polly Rykowski, the principal at Egan High School. For congressional debate, 2 individuals will be responsible for coordinating that. Rachel Bauman from Farmington High School and DJ Brinteson from the Robbinsdale schools. And in the world of Lincoln Douglas policy and public forum debate, Zach Prax from East View High School and Chris McDonald from Egan High School will coordinate those events. Tournament headquarters will be this year in the same building, but in a different room and on a different floor. We will be in Bleegan 155. This is 1 floor lower than in previous years, and we want you to make sure that you remember this on Friday morning when you come to register, because if you go to 2nd floor, you won't find us there. Some procedural reminders for all debate events. First of all, for any observers that come, all rounds of the state debate tournament shall be open to public observation, flowing, and note-taking. Judges are not to observe any debates other than those that they are judging. I will talk more about that later. Observers shall not attempt to influence the debate through any verbal or nonverbal reaction. Your purpose is to be there to observe, to listen, and to learn. In terms of tournament contact, the Minnesota State High School League has established minimal behavioral expectations for tournament competitions. First of all, the use of appropriate language is expected at all times. Profanity, booing, trash talk, name calling, personal attacks, or other acts of disrespect are unacceptable and will be immediately addressed by the tournament staff. We ask everyone to respect each debate. No one should interfere with the debate in any way. Coaches and students are also not to seek an unfair advantage and shall not behave in an unethical manner in their conduct. And that applies to coaches, judges, competing students, tournament officials, or any other aspect related to the operation and the management of the tournament. It is unethical for any coach, student, observer, or judge to attempt to influence the decision of a judge before, during, or after a round. Now, schedules, rounds, and sessions. Note, we are starting competition this year earlier on Friday morning. Our goal is to try to end at a more reasonable hour on Friday evening. Please be aware of these earlier times so you are prepared for your competition at the correct hour. For policy and congressional debate, we start with you on Friday morning. Registration will begin on or before 8:30 a.m. at tournament headquarters in Bleegan 155. We'll be there earlier, but you need to be there no later than 8:30. The first round of policy debate is scheduled to start at 9 a.m. First round schedules will be blasted to everyone at 8:30. So 1/2 hour before the start of the first round, everyone should have a schedule. So we need you to make sure that we can start on time, so that please register early and start your preparations once you've received your schedule. The first session of congressional debate will start 1/2 hour later at 9:30 a.m. For Lincoln Douglas and public forum debate, registration will begin at 9 a.m. at tournament headquarters again in Bleegan 155. The first round of those two events will start at 10 o'clock. So you've got a little more time to prepare for that. And the first round schedules will be blasted to everyone 1/2 hour earlier at 9:30. So there should be plenty of time for everyone to be prepared to get to their rooms and start those first rounds at 10 o'clock. For congressional debate schedules, in terms of how they were put together, students will compete in 3 preliminary sessions on Friday morning and afternoon, and then a 4th preliminary session on Saturday morning. 2 Super Congress sessions consisting of the top 12 students will then be held starting at noon on Saturday. Congress room assignments for the prelim sessions in the 2 houses have been predetermined and will be posted for all when schedules are blasted. Judges will receive their specific assignments on Friday morning. There is a hard stop after 2 hours of debate in Congress once the parliamentarian or presiding officer calls the chamber to order of in-session time. So once you reach those 2 hours, then debate is to stop. There is a minimum of 1 hour and 45 minutes of debate that is set aside for each session. We ask that you use that so that every student has the opportunity to fully participate. Students should not take more than 5 minutes of recess or break during a session, and a recess does not count as part of the debate time. Students may serve as a presiding officer only once in the preliminary sessions 1 and 2, and then again in sessions 3 and 4. For Lincoln Douglas policy and public forum pairings, you are guaranteed on Friday 2 preset rounds in all 3 events. And in each of those rounds, there'll be 12 debates featuring the 24 entries. Each policy and public forum team and each Lincoln Douglas debater is guaranteed an affirmative and a negative round in those two preset rounds. For scheduling this year, with the change resulting from the section tournament, this is how we made those changes. Debaters were placed into 3 groups based upon their section tournament finish. The 8 section champions and runner-ups were placed and seeded in Group A based on their final win-loss and speaker point ranks. The next seeded entries, ranked 9 through 16, were placed and seeded in Group B into subgroups. And finally, the next seeded 17 through 24 entries were placed and seeded in Group C into subgroups. Debate entries then meet an opponent from a 4-entry subgroup in each of the 2 groups other than their own. So Group A will meet somebody from Group B and from Group C, and so on. We made sure that schools will meet completely different schools in the 2 preset rounds. So if a school has 1 entry, they will meet 2 different schools. If you have 2 entries in a category, you will meet 4 different schools. After those 2 preset rounds on Friday, subsequent pairings will be made on the basis of win-loss records and speaker points in a powering situation. If coaches and students have questions about how this is done, you can review those pairing procedures on the Minnesota State High School League website. Round schedules and individual assignments will be posted electronically to judges and debaters, as well as in paper outside the tournament headquarters, Bleegan 155. So one way or another, you should know where you're supposed to be at any given time. Elimination rounds for all debate events on Saturday will be announced in meetings in the main lecture hall, Bleegan 5, for all participants. Judge strikes. In policy, Lincoln Douglas, and public forum, each school received 1 strike that's good for both days. No judge strikes were provided in congressional debate. Coaches, very important, please let the tab room staff know immediately when the schedules have been blasted if judges have been incorrectly assigned involving either school conflicts or judge strikes. We have copies of all the strike sheets submitted by coaches should questions arise about judge placement. All original strikes will be honored throughout the tournament. Additional strikes for schools in those 3 events will be available from judge panels for the semifinal and final rounds, with procedures explained to the coaches involved. Information exchange. We'd ask coaches particularly and students to look at page 6 of the Minnesota State High School League policies for the debate tournament that are on the website. Specifically to highlight the exchange of specific evidence between schools that is designed to give an unfair advantage to one entry or school is not permitted by state tournament rules. Such evidence will include flows, cases, recordings, briefs, articles, or books. Such evidence is not to be exchanged at any time by anyone from the start of registration through the completion of the final round. An additional note, the posting of information to a publicly accessible website in which no one team is disadvantaged is in fact permissible. That's the only exception that we would have to the exchange of evidence. Use of computers, the State High School League policies are pretty detailed about this. So if you again check page 6 of those policies, it will delineate what the procedures are for that. Rules of evidence. We have a number of them for the state tournament. First of all, contestants are responsible for the validity of all evidence that they read in a debate. In all rounds of Lincoln Douglas and public forum, debaters should, at a minimum, orally deliver the title of a source, the qualifications of the source, the author's name, and the year. Every time they read a new piece of evidence from a new source, that information must be provided. In policy debate, all debaters shall, at a minimum, orally deliver the name of the author and the year. If debaters in those events fail to provide this required information when first read, their opponents have a right to challenge this omission, with the responsible debaters expected to provide that information in the very next speech. Excuse me. Failure to provide these evidence citations shall be used by the judge in making their decision for the round. In all rounds of debate, complete citations for each piece of evidence introduced in the round must be available in the round when challenged. Written citations include name of the author, qualifications, complete title of the source, and complete date. Online sources must also include the title of the site, database, or access point, the date accessed, and the web address. Additional citation required for online sources must appear on all evidence, but is not required to be read. So this may be stretching the expectations that we would normally have at invitational tournaments, but this is important and everybody needs to abide by them. Reading of evidence by judges. So if evidence is challenged or you have questions about evidence, this is what the state tournament rules are. In policy debate, judges may request and read any evidence presented in the debate, regardless of their reason for that request. So it's pretty wide open for that. In the world of Lincoln Douglas and public forum, judges are prohibited from requesting and reading any evidence at the end of a round unless the issue of authenticity was raised during the debate or unless the judge has substantial reason to suspect the authenticity of the evidence. Authenticity is defined in the State High School League policies as, first of all, fabrication. That means falsely representing a cited fact or statement of opinion as evidence, or intentional omissions or addition of information within the quoted material. Second category is distortion, and that refers to the misrepresentation of evidence or of citation which significantly alters the meaning or the context. Students must challenge any evidence that you believe to be fabricated or distorted either during the debate or after the last affirmative speech. You can't wait a half an hour later after the round is done and then raise a challenge. In the event of such a challenge, the judge will take the responsibility for reading that evidence after the round is over. For judges, in terms of how you deal with that, I'm going to ask you to read the procedures on page 8 of the High School League policies, because that will detail how you deal with such authenticity challenges. We move then to prep time and breaks. This is similar to what you're used to at invitationals and at the section tournament. In Lincoln Douglas, you have 4 minutes per debater. In policy debate, 8 minutes per team, and in public forum debate, 3 minutes per team. In Congress, as I said earlier, you can take no more than 1 5-minute recess per session to allow for maximum time for debate. Disclosure of decisions. This is specific then to our judges. Judges are permitted but are not required to disclose their decisions at the end of a debate. That may be different than what you're used to at invitational tournaments. Again, judges are permitted, but they are not required to disclose their decisions after a debate is over. However, if a judge decides that they wish to disclose their decision prior to any such disclosure and the discussion of the debate, the judge is expected and required to submit their decision on the electronic ballot on the tab room program. If a judge plans to disclose, you are responsible for informing the debaters to remain in the room while you first complete and submit your ballot. After that, you may then conduct a discussion and the disclosure with the debaters. We want that to keep this tournament on schedule. That allows the tab room staff to compile the results and prepare the schedule for the next round. Please understand that any such disclosure and discussions with debaters must not delay participation in the next round when announced. So you cannot continue this discussion once the next round has been posted and blasted to everyone, because we need to keep the tournament on schedule. Problems and questions. Coaches and judges should contact me as the tournament manager before the next round starts. So if something has occurred in a round that you are concerned about, come and talk to me immediately. Once a round begins, the issue can no longer be raised. Students, if you have questions about anything that happened in the round, you should talk to your coaches first, and they can determine then how you as a school want to proceed. But the communication should always be between coaches and myself and the tab room staff. If you wish to file a formal protest, there will be a formal protest form available at the tournament headquarters. We would ask you to complete that and submit it to me to start any proceeding that we have. For a tournament jury, should we have any questions or challenges, I'm very pleased to have the following 3 debate coaches and leaders of the Minnesota Debate Teachers Association serve in the capacity of a tournament jury. They will be responsible for adjudicating any tournament issues. Those individuals are DJ Brinteson, who is the head coach of the Robbinsdale schools and is the current MDTA president. We also have Des Nyman, who is the Lakeville North and South High School head coach, and she's the past MDTA president. And then we have Christian Vasquez from the Blake School. If the jury is required, I will convene them to deal with any disputes or challenges that have been presented to me by a judge or coach regarding a specific rounds or behavior by any tournament participant. If we need to, for example, to deviate from established tournament rules and procedures, such as the pairing of rounds or the assigning of judges, I will also convene the jury to explain our issue and solicit their counsel and their support in terms of how we should proceed. That provides greater ownership in the decision-making process for those rounds. The jury room this year will be in Bleegan 145. When the jury convenes, my responsibility as the tournament manager is to explain any decisions that we have regarding specific issues, judge assignments, and other procedures that may have to be altered. The jury will be asked to discuss and provide recommendations in such situations. The results of jury decisions will be communicated to coaches, students, and judges as appropriate. So this is a very transparent process. We want to make sure everybody feels like they have their day in court if that's required. However, our goal is that the tournament jury never meets. In other words, that the tournament is flowing smoothly, everybody is abiding by the rules and procedures, and we have a positive state tournament experience. Now for judges. First of all, thank you again for agreeing to judge this weekend. We truly value your expertise your experience, and the contributions that you can make to the tournament. For ballots, all ballots will be sent to your tab room account, so make sure that that is updated and ready to receive the schedule blast. It will identify for you the schools, the debaters involved, and your assigned room. So make sure that you've got a digital device, a phone, an iPad that can receive those schedules. For ballot details in the world of Lincoln Douglas policy and public forum, at the end of the round, when you're ready to do your decision, complete your decision and your speaker points first and submit that to the tab room. We need that right away in order to facilitate the scheduling of the next round. In terms of your comments, you can write those later. A single judge, in fact, can delay the next round for everybody when we're trying to schedule. And we really want to try to stay on the schedule for the benefit of everyone. As normal, whole and half points are allowed on the ballot, but no other fractions. The tab room program will prevent you from doing that. Ties and speaker points, a tie may be awarded to either entry in the debate. Low point wins are allowed. Make sure that ultimately that you complete comments to the debaters on the full ballot. In other words, they want to know why they won, why they lost, what are constructive comments that you can make to them. And you're allowed to write and submit your comments anytime until the end of the tournament on Saturday evening. But our priority is to get your decisions, the winner in the round, and the points so that we can move ahead with the tournament. For congressional debate, we would ask all of the scorers there to complete your online ballot with appropriate comments and points as you are instructed. For general judge conduct, as normal, we would ask you to conduct yourself in a professional manner in what you do, what you say, and what you write during the tournament. You represent the Minnesota State High School League and the debate community as hired judges at the state tournament. This is probably one of the biggest rules coming next that you need to keep in mind. Observing other debates than your scheduled debates. This is not allowed at all to avoid future conflicts in judging. So if you are not scheduled to judge in a round, you are not to go to another debate and watch that if you are judging in that event. If you are not scheduled to judge in
Rachel, I can see you. Can you hear me? Oh, Bob might be unfrozen. Bob, you were frozen there for a second, but you look unfrozen. But now you're muted.
Okay, now am I good?
Yes, and if by chance you get frozen again, I'll just jump in with my little part while you get warmed up there. Thank you.
All right. The other point in terms of judges, besides staying in the judge lounge, is we'd ask you not to leave the tournament area, in other words, Blagan Hall, unless you have consulted with the tab room staff and received approval, because we need to have access to you. And if you're gone, that creates problems for us. If judges have problems or questions, see me at tournament headquarters before the next debate begins. Don't prolong that. Get to me right away and we'll address any concerns that you have. We will call the jury if needed to resolve any issue that may have occurred in your debate round. Finally, some miscellaneous news. The doors to the law library will likely be locked either on Friday and Saturday. We're used to having that unlocked, but we have not been guaranteed that it will be unlocked both days. So for parking, your best bet then has been suggested is to park in the 19th Avenue ramp and to enter through the Humphrey building. So keep that in mind, and that way you won't be standing outside a building in very cold temperatures. Number two, remember that the tournament headquarters and judge lounge this year will be on the first floor, not on the second floor as in past years. And coaches, number three, we would ask you to make sure that not just you and your judges, but also your students watch this video before Friday morning, because there's essential information that your students need to know. So with that, my formal comments are done. Are there any questions from students, coaches, or judges that I can attempt to answer at this time? Otherwise, I'll turn to Amy to talk about a few other things.
Thank you, Bob.
All
Bob,
right.
you just about covered everything. I only have one little snippet. Well, first, I do want to congratulate all of the participants for qualifying for this state tournament. As Bob said, it may be your first time there, but for many people, they've been there decades, and it's just a really, really fun event. And the judges are honored to hear you speak. We're honored to host the tournament, and your coaches are thrilled for you. So congratulations. The only tidbit I wanted to share is, once again, we will be live streaming the awards ceremony. We will also likely have some video snippets from the tournament, but not any full debates. Our videographer would not enter a room unless we've cleared it with a couple coaches. So last year, when our videographer wanted to video, we discussed among coaches and tab room, looking for some very experienced debaters who wouldn't be thrown off by that. And we would do that again. So if you're new to this tournament, you don't need to worry about that at all. But the awards will be live streamed and will be emceed by Christopher McDonald once again. And you can watch, your parents, family, friends can watch that live stream for free. If you go to the MSHSL website, select debate from sport, look for sports and activities, then select debate. And there's a box, a light blue box on the right. It says state tournament information. You can click on streaming, and that will take you to our partner, nspn.tv. You'll see some sports on there, and those you do have to pay and subscribe, but the state debate awards will be free for viewing. So be sure to share that with friends and family and teachers. Once again, congratulations. If anybody has a question that they want to ask, not so much in this public venue, and once the recording stops, we'll stick around until we see all or most of you logged off. See you Friday morning.